The Philippine government entered 2026 expecting solid economic momentum, setting an official growth target of 5 to 6% for the first quarter. This chart reveals a significant forecasting failure. Instead of hitting that target, actual GDP growth for the quarter reached only 2.8%. If we remove the anomaly of the pandemic lockdowns, this represents the weakest quarterly performance the Philippines has seen since 2009. This stagnation is specific to the Philippines. During the same period, regional neighbors like Vietnam and Indonesia maintained growth rates of 7.8 and 5.6% respectively. These figures mean immediate pressure on households. Inflation reached a 3-year high of 7.2%, potentially pushing 1.3 million more Filipinos into poverty as fuel and food costs rise. To manage this instability, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is aggressively purchasing gold. By early 2026, reserves jumped to over $20 billion as the central bank sought a hedge against a weakening peso and market volatility. The economy is caught in a squeeze, trapped between an internal institutional crisis and a sudden global energy shock. The internal problem began months before the global conflict. A corruption scandal involving flood control projects acted as an institutional toxin, slowing the gears of government spending. The resulting political fallout eroded investor confidence and caused significant delays in the passage and release of the 2026 national budget. This graph tracks gross capital formation, or total investment. With public infrastructure spending effectively frozen, this metric shrank by 3.3% during the first quarter. Even without global instability, institutional paralysis and unspent funds were already compromising the country's economic trajectory. Then came the external trigger. In late February 2026, the Iran-US-Israel conflict escalated, leading to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. This immediately threatened the Philippines' energy supply. The country relies on foreign imports for 98% of its oil, creating a lethal dependency on Middle Eastern stability. Global diesel prices spiked by 55% just as the domestic budget was being held up, creating a direct collision between rising costs and falling spending. This hit the agricultural sector hard. Production contracted by 0.2% as the cost of fuel for transport and fertilizer for crops became unsustainable for most farmers. The industrial sector also turned negative, declining 0.1% as high energy costs made manufacturing and construction increasingly expensive. The combination of a paralyzed domestic budget and a global energy shock created a period of stagflation, defined by weak growth and rapidly rising prices. The government responded by declaring a national energy emergency under Executive Order 110, allowing the state to set temporary price limits on fuel. This was followed by the UPLIFT program, which provided direct fuel subsidies to the transport sector and 20% discounts for millions of commuters to maintain mobility. Parallel efforts include direct cash aid for farmers to stabilize food supplies and the repatriation of thousands of overseas workers trapped in conflict zones. These multi-billion peso interventions are keeping the system from collapsing today, but they don't address the vulnerabilities that caused the crisis. A long-term recovery requires a different approach. The government is now moving to accelerate unspent infrastructure projects, backed by stricter anti-corruption oversight and digital budget monitoring. The ultimate goal is to expand the renewable energy footprint and integrate electric vehicles, decoupling the economy from a 98% reliance on foreign oil. The 2.8% slowdown illustrates the vulnerability of the current system. Future resilience depends on the ability to purge internal corruption and end the total